Good morning. Welcome to the Alpine Church of Spiritual Living. This morning I'm going to be reading our thought for the week, and you can join me if you're in the room as I get down to the bottom in the bold area. There lives within each of us an undaunting spirit, one that is life itself. This energy is our true source. It is infinite. Try as we may from our humanness, we can never fully comprehend or know the totality of this presence. Yet we can each grasp a sense of it as we become fully present in a moment when we gaze upon a sunset or look into the eyes of a baby. This energy is common and woven in and through all of creation. In fact, there is only one life, and it is living everything. When we open our mind and heart to this awareness, there is an awe that envelops us so that we figuratively, if not literally, drop to our knees to worship it. This life-giving force is based on relationship with all. Nothing is left out and all is included. It asks nothing of us, and yet, if we are open and receptive, we can spawn a relationship with it that feeds our very soul and life itself. If you ask for its advice as to how to lead your life, you may likely hear the word serve. That happened to me in 1994, and for the past 29 years, I have been seeking to answer that call. I think it boils down to living in the now, having faith and confidence you are being led and guided in the right direction, and being of use. How may I serve is the eternal question to ask. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened. Love with all your might. Be available and open to newness, to change. See yourself free to simply be. Life is such a magnificent gift. Praise, honor, and revel in it now and evermore. Say with me, I am ready, willing, and able to serve, give of myself at deeper levels and higher callings. For this I am grateful, and it is so. So we are rounding out our theme of serving, and as we've talked about in this past month, I'm reminded that the first week we came together, we were talking about how we serve with our time, our talent, and our treasure. And then we looked at the way that our attitude affects everything that we do. And so our attitude, the way we give, is such an important element. So then we looked at recognizing all of the angels around us in our midst. Perhaps they're disguised, that we don't really know and acknowledge them at the time, but we can know and acknowledge that there are angels among us, and that we trust that every now and again one of us can step up and flap our wings a little bit and be that angel in disguise. And so our topic this morning is, how may I serve? And I think that it's so important for us to recognize that this is an element of life that we need to recognize, we need to honor, we need to let ourselves give of our utmost. This life-giving force that I talked about in the thought for the week is eternally with us, eternally wanting to bring more of its presence into our awareness, into our experience. It is living through each and everything, through all of us. And relationship, I think, is key. We don't live on a deserted island. And the more that we can reach out, we can become aware, we can interact with others, be it people, be it animals, whatever the case might be, that way we are encouraging, we are living this infinite life that we are at a deeper level. Because I know that what I do affects others. And I hope that you recognize the same thing, that we have this interrelated flow that goes through each and every one of us. Our relationships will change. Relationships will come and go. Some people are here in our life for a season, for a reason, or for a lifetime. So I think that one thing that we can count on in this life is that it's going to change. And we're going to be looking at ourselves to say, how can I grow? How can I change? How can I serve today? Maybe differently than what I had served yesterday or the day before. This past weekend, there was the 28th annual rummage sale of the church that we rent our space from here. And I'll tell you what, and I was there, and Thursday we set up, Friday and Saturday we had the sale, and I was there the whole time. And it was amazing to watch these people just do their thing, because it's a huge rummage sale. And it was like a well-oiled machine. It was like these people just knew, they anticipated, what to do and so forth. And it was extremely beneficial for me to see the confirmation as I was growing up. When I was married, my mother-in-law, Pauline, used to say, many hands make light work. And it was so true this last weekend with so many of these folks that just knew exactly what their spot was and how they were going to handle it. Peter brought all of his CDs and DVDs and books and records, vinyls. And it was interesting, there was people would go through these records, and they're flipping through them, and they're going, oh yeah, I remember this one. And they were all going down memory lane, at the time that they would listen to this song, how old they were, what they were doing, the whole 9 yards. And so it's easy to look back on our lives and remember where we were at based on the music we were listening to and based on those kind of elements. And yet it changes over time. And for us to recognize that's an integral part of life, is this change. At the very end of the day, on the last day, it ends at 3:00, but at noon, they sell a garbage bag, like a white, one of those white kitchen bags, for $5 to anybody. And then they can stuff as much stuff as they can in that bag for $5. And so it's really fun. And there was, at the very end, there was a gal there, a younger woman, and she was obviously from England. She had a very thick English accent. And I guess she said, she was just amazed. She said, I've never been to a rummage sale at all. We don't have these in England. And somebody said, you look really jovial. She goes, I am just so happy. I'm so happy. I don't know how many $5 bags she got, but but it was so much fun to just see the interaction of people. People were so nice, so generous. There was one tiny little thing on our table that it's a little Tupperware. I don't know how many, the women probably know what I'm talking about. It's a little Tupperware container, just like the inch tall one. And I had spied it a couple times, and I thought, no, I don't really need it, but I really like those things. And so there was a fellow that came up, and he was, well, what is this thing? And I said, well, it's a little Tupperware container. I said, I looked at it, and I kind of thought about, buying that myself. Well, here, he said, how much you want for it? I said, 50 cents. Well, here, you take it. I want you to have it. No, you can have it. No, I want you to have it. One man's trash is another man's treasure, I will say. And but the interrelationship of the people there, what to me was heartwarming. And so I want us to think about today and going forward about the fact that life is change, and how can we serve life as we change in our seasons. When 29 years ago, I found myself looking for employment. And I remember so much, the company I had been with for 15 years, I thought I'd be there forever, had closed. And I remember so vividly sitting there praying, saying, God, what should I do? What do you want me to do? How can I, make money? What job should I get? And loud and clear, with no hesitation, no questioning whatsoever, came the one word, serve. Loud and clear. And I immediately thought, what are you talking about? I can't be a waitress. Lefty doesn't work very well, so I can't be a waitress. It's taken me all these years to recognize what that word really meant. The first thing that came to mind is I'm going to look in the want ads. We had newspapers then, that had want ads back in the day. And I found a job opening that was at an insurance company, the agency, that was 4 blocks from my house. And I thought, well, I'm going to see if maybe I can, because I had been working in insurance, but I wasn't an agent. I was working at a company. And I went down there, had an interview, and the opening they had was for life insurance agent, which I didn't know anything about life insurance. I knew workers' comp. And yet, after the interview, they changed the opening that they were advertising for and offered me a job in a property casualty agent, more what I could do. And I stayed there for 25 years, learning insurance and being in this beautiful element of small agency that were all Christian-based people, highly involved in their churches. But through those years, I was led to go to Toastmasters. And from Toastmasters, I was led to take religious science classes. And from there, I was led to come up to Alpine, to this church in Alpine. And I was invited to be on the platform to start the service and to be the Sunday school teacher. From there, I was led to start ministerial classes. When our minister left, all the congregation said, "Oh, you can be our minister." Well, I haven't taken ministerial classes yet. And so I contacted Reverend Dr. Marilyn Hall, who was teaching ministerial classes here in San Diego. And this was about November. And I asked Marilyn if I could get into her class, and she said, "Oh, okay, now I understand." She started her classes there are two years of how the duration of the class goes, but she would start them in September. Here it was November, and she said, "My intuition was telling me there was one more student. I can't start yet." And so I started in November, the whole class started in November, and for 2 years we went through that. And after that, the day I graduated from ministerial, the minister that we had hired here decided that he wanted to leave and go someplace else. And I'm standing there in my front yard watering the avocado tree. I so remember this. And I'm thinking, darn, I wasn't planning on really being a minister. So I just love to take classes, but I could not do it. I had to give it a whirl. That was 21 years ago. And I think I've given a pretty good whirl to it. But what I'm trying to share with you is that every one of us is here to serve at the place we're at in consciousness then. You see, we're going to grow, we're going to change, and we're going to me, it takes asking. I ask, what do you want me to do, God? And I heard that one word, serve. And then it took all these years to learn, what does that really mean? It takes listening. Once you ask, you have to listen for the answer. And it takes taking action. It takes doing something about it. we had, at the rummage sale, we had all sorts of stuff, and there was it was maybe this big, maybe 10, 12 inches, and again, the women don't know what I'm talking about. It was a fabric jewelry organizer and container. There's like zippers and different little areas that you can put your jewelry in, and it all rolls up into a nice little package, and you can take it for traveling. And these two gals were standing there at the table, and this one goes, "Oh, I've always wanted to have one of these. I've been looking for them. Now I could organize my jewelry. I could really keep it organized." And then in the next breath, because she was talking to her friend who wasn't really responding, she goes, "Now if I only will do it." I mean, how many times do you see people go to a rummage sale or whatever? I'm going to do that. Oh, yes. And so I couldn't help myself. I had to put on my minister hat, and I walked over to her and I said, one of the teachings that Jesus taught was, blessed are you if you know these things, but more blessed are you if you do them. And he had a good laugh out of that. So it's interesting to know that we are here in life, I believe, to relate to one another, to give of our talents, to proceed to enlarge our talents, to enlarge our territory. And that's what it takes in life, to ask, listen, and then follow through and do. So I'm asking you this coming week to be open and receptive to how can I serve? How can I serve today? What can I give of myself? What can I develop? What sort of talent do I have that is calling me to enlarge myself, that I can learn and grow and give more of this infinite being that I am? What can I learn? How can I grow? And in that way, to me, that's what we're in this life for, is to grow, to give, to learn, to share, to be this infinite being in action on earth. And I think that we can do it with a lot of fun, a lot of laughter. That was so evidenced by all of the folks here that passed through these portals over this weekend. Accept the fact that you are growing, you're changing, you're developing, much different than what you were a decade ago. And it's okay. Bring it on. Allow yourself to be of service in a new way, in a different way. Have that faith that God is pushing you, and you're getting some sort of signal to follow it, to follow that lead. Be of service to others, and primarily, initially, to yourself, your God self. And have that relationship first and foremost. Namaste. Love you all.